All right. This is Jeff Townsend. Bill DeMott's with me. We are starting this is like a bonus episode, I guess you could say, for the Bill DeMott. Bonus? Yeah. Bonus? But we've every once in a while we get a little bit busy, Bill.
Yeah.
So we're taking a minute to do a couple of recordings here this week, and we really wanted to talk about SummerSlam earlier. Obviously, our schedules wouldn't match up, and then we wrapped up the U.S. title discussion in our previous recordings. So we're going to jump back into SummerSlam. You really wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, I want to say again, what a great discussion we had about the United States Championship, the history of that championship, man. I really did enjoy that, and I enjoyed some of the comments that were on Twitter from everybody who was checking out what we're doing. So that was really cool. But yeah, I just had some thoughts on SummerSlam. It's not about the show. It's just, I hate to say I'm going to be nitpicky, but I need explanation on a few things. So I figured, well, let's do that.
Yeah. So let me ask you this about the U.S. title thing. Was I the only one that went to bed that night thinking, we just created really cool 5 episodes there? It really had me thinking about it. Then we're watching SmackDown Live, you and I. Well, not at the same place, but as soon as I see Rey Mysterio win, because we had discussed this on the podcast, I message you immediately. We missed the title reign.
Yeah, my jaw dropped thinking the same thing. We just had this amazing 5-part series of the U.S. Championship, and we talked about a time when Theory may not have it and what could happen. And lo and behold, boom, on SmackDown. And when you messaged me, I was right by my phone. I couldn't believe that either we were, clairvoyant? Either we predicted it or we're like, oh, there's going to be a 6th episode of this thing.
Clairvoyant. That's trips me out, man. I watched America's Got Talent a few seasons ago.
Awesome. Yeah.
They can take somebody's credit card from the crowd, and I don't know I don't know what they're doing to get it, to read the thing, but it's kind of scary. Nevertheless, speaking of scary, let's talk about SummerSlam. So we had some requests. They being the listeners, our great listeners, our friends. Yes, you are our friends. They wanted to know what you were if you could guess what Dave Meltzer was going to rate things. I have that in front of me. I know you haven't read it because, first of all, you don't care. Second of all, you don't have a membership, and I do. So we're going to match it up. You want to do what we usually do, Bill, and kind of walk through it quickly?
Yeah. Let's walk through it. And then we'll guess Uncle Dave's ratings.
We'll walk through it first. I'm not going to read Uncle Dave's review of it because that might give away the rating.
Right.
And he likes to make random comments about Charlotte Flair's body building and random things. So we're going to leave that out for today. But I am going to look at CBS. Actually, CBS did a pretty awesome recap, I thought. Okay. So we will start it out with what it started out with. So first of all, I guess we could go to the event itself. Where the hell was that thing at this year, Bill? Detroit.
It was in Detroit, yeah.
What do you think about Detroit?
I think Detroit's always been a good wrestling town. I mean, we always did well there, and I know now that things are opening up and they're traveling more, I think Detroit was always a good, popular place for us. We used to hit the Kalamazoo, all that area there, up and down. But I like Detroit, and the Detroit crowds were always pretty responsive to what went on. So I thought it was a good place to be. It looked great. I mean, it was.
Yeah. So this was the first. I don't want to butcher it. They had several of these in a row in Brooklyn, right? I believe, and this was the first one in a while they hadn't had in Brooklyn.
Right.
They kind of went. Was it 3 years in a row or something? Maybe even more there in Brooklyn. So
it kind of got stale. And it wasn't not that it wasn't as big a deal or an event, but it just was, I don't know. It was different, but I was glad to see they went outside of that. And Detroit, I thought Detroit was a good place to have it. I thought the buildup was really good too.
Yeah, of course, WWE's video packages are world class. Its promotion is world class. I watch UFC also, Bill, and even UFC can't compare to what WWE does as far as the build-ups, the video promo packages. Just the production value of WWE is really a whole other level, which has made it is probably part of its growth as well. You've seen that really develop over the years as become a global phenomenon.
Yeah, second to none. All the things the production people do behind the scenes and in that truck. And I'll say this right off the bat. Thank goodness, and I've said this before, sometimes the packages are way better than the matches. And I think a lot of that takes place, here with this particular event. For me anyway.
Let's kick it off. So let's start the night, Logan Paul and Ricochet. Bill, do you know why Logan Paul Ricochet match started the night off?
Well, I would imagine you want to come out hot, right? And I think Logan Paul is right now gets that reaction. Logan Paul's like that, dirty Dom reaction. He comes out, doesn't matter what he says. He could give everybody $1 million who's sitting there, and they're going to hate Logan Paul. So I think I thought it was a good way. I thought it was a good match to start the night until I saw the match itself. And then I was confused.
So let me stop you real quick. Logan Paul's brother, Jake Paul, had a massive boxing match with Nate Diaz in Texas that Logan Paul made it to. So I'm sure it's no coincidence that he started off the night here tonight, then to fly back down south and get there in time, which he did. So I wanted to note that first. He showed up in gear, of course. No Prime, because I think his brother actually is working with some other company. But yeah, so here was my thing about it. This match kind of felt like it had been building up and coming, but without really building. The only building really was, hey, these guys, like Ricochet, could do really cool moves, and so can Logan Paul. They tried to squeeze out a little bit of a storyline with the fiance thing and all that. I guess the whole point was we're going to get some good moments out of this match, possibly. So this is going to be a match. And Logan Paul did need to win too. Let's say that, because Logan Paul has not won every match he's been in.
Right.
If he's been overperformed versus Roman Reigns, he needed a win.
Yeah.
Is this the right way to go about it? I don't know. I can certainly jump into things after you go ahead here.
I think it was better for Logan Paul to get the win, because I'll be honest with you, I'm not buying Ricochet winning that match. The build-up, no matter what time they had, you literally went from, and this goes back to our conversation, have you ever been into a fight? The believability of what, the idea is to bring people in. And I just can't get behind a man who had his fiancée brought into it, right? Logan Paul saying, you're going to say my name and all these things. And how does Ricochet come out? He came out, his entrance was the same as it always is. He comes out, shakes hands, he's all smiles and high energy. He goes in the ring, does a triple Lindy flip, lands on his knees, poses, all this stuff. And then he wants to lock up with this guy. This guy's been talking trash about your woman, talking trash about you. There's been you jumped him from behind at one point. You went through tables, and now we're just going to have a match. So and it's not taking anything away from the athleticism, the spots they did. There were some really, really cool things that I really appreciated. But as a person of interest, this would have been the night. This was the build-up to see who Ricochet is and where you're going to go with him going forward. And to me, it was just another match. So Logan, in my opinion, Logan Paul should have won, because he left with the same kind of heat that he had when he came in. And if you take away the triple ending and you take away these really cool things, can you get behind Ricochet? And I was upset for him, because I'm not sure I'm sure it was explained to him, hey, maybe this is how you might be thinking. But at the end of the day, you've got to take control of your character and your story, and you've got to make the most of it. And sometimes making the most of it isn't doing the triple ending and taking these hellacious bumps for no freaking reason, just to have a match. So I think Logan Paul came out of it smelling good, looking good, and the right guy won. That to me was so disheartening on Ricochet's, on his end. I was just so upset for him, not at him. Like I said, tremendous athlete. But if every match is going to be the same, it'll go back to you and I, the conversation we had about Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston. You're going to put him out there. He's going to perform a match and do some really cool stuff. But can I get behind it? So SummerSlam for me, let me know as a fan, not as someone in the business, but as a fan, I can't get behind Ricochet.
Fair enough. Is it possible that Ricochet's just doing what? That's just what Ricochet's going to be.
I think, yeah, he's that. But what a great opportunity he was put in, and I think I don't necessarily think he made the best of that opportunity. So I think that's his ceiling. I think you're going to see him in things like that and stuff. But geez, more people were talking about his fiance than they were about him.
She's a pretty good ring announcer. She has that got a heck of a set of lungs on her, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll knock out the description here of the match real quick.
Okay.
So Ricochet exploited his experience edge in the early moments of the match, but Paul leaned on his strength to turn the tide soon after. Paul was an arrogant punk from start to finish. The crossover star provoked ring announcer Samantha Irvin, who is also Ricochet's fiance, and ripped a power slam for Ricochet's tag team partner, Braun Strowman. The first highlight reel moment of the match was a Spanish fly from the apron to the ringside where both men landed on their feet. That was followed shortly after by Paul landing a buckshot lariat from inside the ring to the outside. The execution of both spots were shaky. Ricochet and Paul started finding their groove later on. Ricochet performed a tidy top rope hurricane neckbreaker, Afterwards, Paul hit a stunning moonsault into a tornado DDT combination. That's the first. This is also from CBS Sports. This is not Dave Meltzer. It's just they hit the hammer on the nail here on the first part of the description. It was shaky. But I think when you're forcing spots, you're going to be real vulnerable to that. It's more or less like I think Ricochet can have a match with anybody. But particularly with Logan Paul, Logan Paul's not a seasoned vet. You're not going to have this huge long match called in the ring. You're going to have a lot of these spots in it. And I think the more spots you start to see Logan Paul in, the more you'll see that. No one's fault, but I think when you set up a lot of spots like that, it's going to come across shaky after a while.
Yeah, but I think it's okay for it to come off shaky because Logan Paul's not a 10-year vet, so there's still some points and you make a great point. Like, unless it's a spot fest, there's not a lot of ad-libbing. You got to stick to the game plan, but I think it's okay to start out shaky. But I think they did find their groove, in the match. It started to really gel going through the middle and to the end. So I didn't mind the shaky stuff. It shouldn't look like, one, it's not ballet, but two, it shouldn't look like there's two seasoned veterans in there. So I didn't really mind that part of it at all. Never even stuck out to me, to be honest.
Yeah, I just think it wasn't the most smooth, but I don't think you can expect it to be. But, okay, we'll go ahead and finish up this here. The superstars traded big moves and near falls in the closing stretch of the match. The final sequence started with Ricochet missing a 630 splash, which is sick, by the way. A member of Paul's entourage handed the influencer brass knuckles while the referee was checking on Ricochet. Paul clocked Ricochet with the hardware and pinned him. Okay, so, I'll just give you a sneak peek of what Uncle Dave said. Uncle Dave, and we're not going to guess the rating yet. We'll get to that in a second. But Uncle Dave brought up the obvious. They never said who this guy was. They handed it. They never mentioned at all who this person was that handed the brass knuckles. Not a bad ending to a Logan Paul match. I mean, he could have beat him clean square in the ring, but is the objective to get more heat on Logan Paul, I guess we'd say, us wrestling fans would say.
Yeah, I thought, by the way, the brass knuckles and everything, I thought he worked brilliantly because he did what the quintessential heel would do. He used them, then hid them, under the cover, and then when the cover was over, tucked them in his trunks, like wrestling 101. So if the objective was for him to leave with more heat, mission accomplished. I thought he executed that stuff very well, and I thought it was really well done. And at the end, it didn't matter who he beat. I was more into Logan Paul. Like, wow, what a cheap shot artist. He's always got somebody ringside. Like last time he had, the other guy in the Prime outfit and all that stuff. So I thought it was really well done to finish. It was late. I thought it was laid out well. But at the end, all I really cared about was Logan Paul, and whether I liked him or didn't like him, that's all. That was my focus.
18-minute match. on a night that seemed like it would, and we'll get into it further we get into this, would get longer and longer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. And this has just got to be critical. I don't know if the match needed to be that long
I
for
agree.
particular guys, but we'll get on to that more as we get into this.
Yeah.
Why don't you take a stab at what Dave Meltzer rated this?
I'm going to say that Dave gave it 2.25 stars. If it's higher than 2.25 stars, I'm hanging up.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
4.25 stars.
Are you serious right now?
I'm serious. Yeah.
I feel like throwing my headset down and just leaving the grill position. This is okay.
He called this a very good athletic match, which, I mean, come on. We knew that's what it was going to be.
Right.
He commented that Paul had a little bit of a mouse under his left eye that was there for the next few days. Had some good moments in the match. Then, of course, he stated the obvious that we don't know who the individual was that handed the brass knuckles. Yeah, I read this rating. I thought, man, that's a little high.
A little high. I thought I was being generous with 2.25 stars. But that's why Dave Meltzer's has more followers and more influence in this business than I do.
Oh,
I'm so upset right now. I'm so upset.
That's a pretty high rating because we're gonna the WrestleMania John Cena Austin Theory match,
Right.
let alone your match. Let's talk about the John Cena match. He really destroyed that one. So
I'm going to jump the gun here for a minute. You don't have to answer me. I'm just going to look at your face. Is this the highest rated match on the card?
I honestly will have to look. I don't want to say that against Pinhead, but it's you might be onto something.
Oh my gosh.
You might be onto something. Let's write it out and see, but I think you might be onto something. If not, it's up there. So let's keep going then.
All right.
Okay, so no, go ahead. Closing summary on the thoughts on this match. The feud's over, right? We're not doing this anymore.
I don't think you can get the people behind it. What else do I have to do other than literally walking over to his fiancee, kissing her dead on the lips, and carrying her off of my shoulder to get some kind of reaction out of him, other than being a really great wrestler? So I don't think this goes any farther. I think Logan Paul moves on to whatever's next, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happens with Ricochet. I think he may be stuck in that mode of when something comes up, they have an opportunity for him, and they'll put him in there when they need the triple Indy.
Oh, he'll be in there. He'll be in there. He'll be on TV. There's no doubt about that. Will he be doing something relevant? Maybe not. Will he be losing some matches every now and then? Yeah. But Ricochet, I think, has a job for a while.
Yeah, I think he has a job. I'm just not sure if he's going to be as busy as he'd like to be.
You were okay. So I guess is where I'm coming to conclusions here. A little confused. So I was not. First of all, let me start off by saying that expecting a breakout moment from Ricochet at all. Nothing against Ricochet because I like Ricochet, but it sounds like you were wanting more. And however, I did not expect anything.
Yeah, I wanted if WWE wanted me to buy into this story, I needed Ricochet to be pissed off. That's the only time you involve a man's family, wife, girlfriend, something like that. We saw it with Dom and his mom and his sister. We've seen it throughout the history of this business. Anytime your family members are brought into it, it gets very personal and all bets are off. And what we got was a straight wrestling match spot fest. So something would really have to make me believe in Ricochet as a TV character going forward. I'm a big fan of what he does in the ring. I'm a huge fan of what he is able to do. But if he wants to get involved and get in a storyline and become a main player, I was lost on that one. I was a little disappointed.
Gotcha. So you were expecting more, to put it nicely.
Yes.
Okay. See, I guess that's the difference there. I wasn't. I kind of thought this is what it would be, and that's what it was. And right or wrong. Not a bad way to start off the night, though.
No, it's like I said, it's a great match. You got almost 20 minutes of action to start the night off. So
let's go into the next match: Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar. So Rhodes wisely got the jump on Lesnar the moment the match started, which I thought was brilliant. I think that's what.
Tell me why it was brilliant.
Because that's what you'd have to do to beat a beast like Brock Lesnar.
And because of what's happened leading into it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, they've had.
So backtrack for a minute to the first match. So maybe Ricochet was told, you can't jump Logan because Cody's jumping Brock. Maybe I'm trying to give him a bone here. I'm trying to give him a lifesaver here. That was my only thought when the second match came out was, okay, maybe this is why.
But you agree with that, right? That's what you had to do against a Brock Lesnar?
Yes.
Take it to him, I guess you could say?
Yes.
Okay, Rhodes routed off a pair of disaster kicks before Lesnar swatted him out of the sky. He literally swatted him out of the sky, by the way. The start of the match was a typical back and forth example of a modern Lesnar formula. It pointed to the familiarity between the two men. It still did not take Lesnar long to take over and deliver extended beatdown of his opponent. The former UFC heavyweight champion flung Rhodes from one side of the ring over and over again. The first close call of the match was Rhodes dragging his battered body into the ring at the count of 9 after eating an F5 outside onto the mat. Let's stop right there for a second. Sometimes you don't see this in wrestling a whole lot anymore, where it's like we've almost forgotten about let's beat the 10 count sort of thing. And I want you to comment on that, then also taking an F5 onto that thin mat.
Yeah, so to your point, usually now what we get is when one guy rolls out, both guys roll out, the referee rolls out, there is no 10 count. We exhaust all those rules and what we've grown up on and come to know as right, the rights and wrongs in wrestling. I thought it was, what I really liked going into that was literally Brock telling him, just stop. It's not going to get better. Like Cody kept beating the count, barely beating the count. And at one point, I honestly thought at that last one, at the last countdown,
let's get to that.
Oh, yeah. So
no, let me hold on.
F5? Is that where you want to go, the F5?
Yeah, I'll get to the next part here, then I'll give you the ball again.
Gotcha.
So Lesnar's second F5 was delivered violently onto the announce table, which collapsed. Again, Rhodes scraped himself into the ring just before a decisive 10 count. Rhodes desperately clung onto the turnbuckle, ripped it off in the corner as Lesnar executed another German suplex. So there's the end of that part of that. So
yeah. So one, taking the F5 in the ring and taking the right way and giving the right way, it's not a feel-good moment. Those mats on the outside are simply that. They're mats. They may be as thick as a gym mat if you're lucky.
Like you'd have in gym class back in the day that you would...
But underneath it is concrete. It's not a feel-good moment. Then you're getting it through the announce table, which if you really watch the announce table, that thing didn't crack in half. That thing buckled, which was a great visual.
Yeah.
But this whole time, now I'm hooked on, we're going to go to a number 4 match here. This is going to end. And Cody's screwed. That's I'm at this point in the match, I'm hook, line, and sinker because you got Brock down. There's no way to get back in. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Da-da-da-da-da. When Cody almost didn't make that 10 count, I was convinced we're going to a 4th match.
Okay. So let's comment on one thing. The turnbuckle was removed that we all knew was going to come into play. We didn't know if he was going to literally run his head into it again or what, but we'll get into that here. Rhodes finally turned the tide by sidestepping Lesnar ringside and hitting him with steel steps. Let's pause.
I didn't think he was going to. I thought it was going to be the other way around. I thought Brock was.
Can you hit somebody with? Can you pick up steel steps in a normal match and hit somebody with it?
No, you can't. And I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was that kind of. Like, so you have creative, right? Here's where people go, well, you got creative license here.
Yeah.
it wasn't that type of match, right? It wasn't no DQs, no rules, anything goes. So it was very.
So what's the rule technically? Like you could, if they're a part of the ring still, you could throw them into it. But as soon as you pick it, they're disbarred and you start picking it up and using it as a weapon.
Yeah.
That's probably where normally the line would be drawn. But
and so that's why I go with creative license. This may not have been discussed prior, and it was just a heat of the moment thing. And it kind of, everybody in control here, the referee has the option of, do I run with this or do I got to do my job or, whatever it is. So I really thought there was moments, like I'm giving you my thoughts as a complete fan of this match. I wasn't even looking at it like, trying to dissect it and see where they're going. I'm going, holy crap, they got me, because it's not legal. The bell should have rang then. It should have rang 2 other times, right? So you're going, I'm like, oh, they're going to drag this out. But fast forward, and I don't want to fast forward, but fast forward, we get to where we are, and I was on my feet.
Yep, we'll get to it. I think Lesnar can just do what he wants to do in his matches, man.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Cody's at that point because of the business he's doing it and what the two of them have been doing. I think they say to him, okay, the rules don't apply here. And most wrestling fans are okay with that.
I agree. We'll finish up the description here. Rhodes finally turned. Okay, I got into that. Hit him with the steps. It was disaster kicks and Cody cutters galore as Rhodes tried and failed to beat the Beast there for a moment. Rhodes attempted his signature crossroads, but Lesnar countered with a Kimura, the same move that caused Rhodes' storyline broken arm months ago. Rhodes forced a rope break and snatched his own Kimura after Lesnar collided with the padless turnbuckle. Rhodes finally conquered his foe by slipping out of an F5 and landing a trio of crossroads. Lesnar embraced Rhodes post-match, shook his hand, and raised it for the WWE Universe to celebrate.
Yeah, I think they did an amazing job.
That was unplanned, right? That's what everybody's saying.
That's what I read too. It was unplanned. Like no one knew that, Cody especially. And but what a great job of taking us through the other 3 matches. The turnbuckle spot, the Kimura spots, and all these things. They gave you the history of what they've done, the 3 matches or the 2 or 3 matches previous. So I really enjoyed it. And that finish, to me, that's the way a story should end.
I agree.
We know Brock is gonna do his thing and come back, and when he comes back, it's gonna be explosive and it's gonna be meaningful. But now Cody is, being made now. Now you're getting behind Cody because he just got the endorsement of the Beast, the guy he's been fighting tooth and nail with and hasn't backed down from. It's amazing. So I really enjoyed the journey of reminding everybody about the matches prior with all those spots in there and not repeating them. And then the way the finish came out, when those 2 guys stood there in the middle and then Brock raised his hand and looked at the people, I was like, oh, that was pretty freaking cool.
Great storytelling. The best of the 3 matches, in my opinion.
Yes.
And what do you think Dave Meltzer rated this?
Oh my gosh!
I'll give you a hint. He liked the match.
He liked the match, so he gave it 3.6 stars.
4.5 stars. Didn't have much bad to say about the match at all. He did make sure to make the comment at the beginning. Normally this would have gone on first so Lesnar could leave, which he did immediately, but Logan Paul had to go on first.
Can I ask you a question? What difference does it make if Brock leaves right away? Why does that need to be reported on?
He always does. He always likes to throw in his little things. The CBS article did not say that in the beginning that we covered the match with, but Dave Meltzer did say that. 4.5 stars. I agree. Good, great match.
Does it make him more of an insider if he tells those things that don't matter? Like, did I need to know that Randy Savage left every night when his match was over, or Hogan or Flair or anybody else? No. So I just don't understand. It's a personal thing with me. But anyway, I thought it was a great. So that was the 4.5 stars.
So it is slightly better than since I guess we use quarters now. It was a quarter better than the Logan Paul match.
Woof. I agree with that match. That match was a good. I enjoyed that a lot. That was a good trilogy.
It was. And Cody Rhodes comes out of it better, mission accomplished. And Brock Lesnar doesn't look bad.
Remains Brock Lesnar. He's not hurt by that at all.
Isn't that amazing?
It's great.
That's just how great he is.
From where he came from and to what it is now, it's amazing.
Okay, I don't want to cover the whole Battle Royal in detail, the Slim Jim. So basically, it sounded like we got a new deal with Slim Jim. We're going to build a match around that.
Right.
LA Knight's victorious on the end there. He went what? I'm not even reading here. He went off with Sheamus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So LA Knight, he comes out victorious. They've been talking about, they've been building this up, so I'm not surprised. What do you get from winning this Battle Royal?
Slim Jims for life. I'm not sure what the...
I literally don't know.
What's the point of getting LA Knight over 25 other superstars or however many guys were in it? But I think the bigger takeaway was almost. And then to me, the package was very telling. How they showed what LA Knight did. They had 3 little clips where they were showing the rest of the Battle Royal. There was more action. And I'm not taking anything away from LA Knight. Listen, the guy's hot. And it got a bunch of guys on the show. I think it was in there at the right time. It took you, it was kind of a takeaway from all that great action of match 1 and 2. So I thought the Battle Royal was in a good place. Again, I'm a believability guy. If you looked at a lot of the guys that were in that match, you knew none of that was going to happen. And so it was pretty cut and dry for me. I thought it was okay.
A good down 11 minutes, like a little bit of a wind down and a cool moment for LA Knight. Hopefully he gets, I'm not sure if he gets part of this deal with Slim Jim as far as being like a face for them or whatever, but that would be cool.
Yeah, maybe.
So let's go back a little bit, Bill. Interesting enough, the match between Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar was actually 30 seconds less than Logan Paul and Ricochet.
It was?
Yes, sir. So when I make the comment, the first match seemed a little long to me. Obviously, the last match was long.
Yeah.
But the first match seemed long to me. Those two guys went long. You actually went longer than, I believe they went longer than this match, and I'm not sure, but they either went nearly the exact same as Rollins and Ballard, or longer. So the first match was a long match. So that's why I made that comment earlier.
Yeah, and now that you bring it up, I didn't feel like Brock and Cody was that long. It was good action and everything, but to your point of you felt the first match was long. You felt like they were just going and going and going. Wow, that's really interesting.
So the next match was the match that everybody was excited for, Bill. This was the big match of the night. Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, MMA rules match. Let me just cut it off there for a second and say, I watched some MMA like the prelims afterwards, the recording, because I recorded it. If I wanted to watch MMA, I just would have watched that instead of SummerSlam.
I've gone back, and I was a Ronda Rousey fan when she was in the UFC. I was also a Shayna Baszler fan, so when she came in, I was very, very excited for that. I'll go on record again as I think they dropped the ball too many times. Well, I've yet to see either woman get into a cage with that eye makeup on. One, I don't understand. WWE superstar? Okay. UFC rules? Then let's come out there like we're going to fight. So the eye makeup was already a big disconnect for me. It wasn't believable.
Yeah, this is another one I'm not necessarily going to cover in great detail, but it kind of looked like, and Uncle Dave quoted it as this as well, an MMA sparring session, but obviously more loose. There were a few stiff moments, though.
Yeah.
There were some black eyes that came out of it. Yeah. Definitely 2 badass women. I'm not going to deny that.
I was definitely... I don't know. I was more disappointed for the women. I'm not sure. And again, I know a lot of people have talked about this. it's MMA rules. So you've set the tone for me as a fan. I'm waiting to see MMA stuff. Not Ronda get knocked down, rolls out of the ring for a 10 count, comes back in, asks the ref, back up, all these things. I've never seen that happen at a UFC fight or an MMA fight. Well, Bellator or anywhere else in the world. So I think once, and you heard the people at one point, and I hate to say this, but you heard the people at one point with the boring chant. I haven't heard a boring chant in a long time. I think people were actually excited to see these two women go at it. And other than a couple of points, like you said, there was a couple really good, solid shots. I think people were very disappointed in what they got there.
They got in a few. They got in a few actual shots, but just seems kind of an odd place in time. It's so hard to do something like that in these circumstances. They tried. I don't know who came up with the idea. I always wonder who came up with the idea of doing that.
But then here's the other side of it, and this is where I'll get us in trouble. I would have much rather seen Becky and Trish than this MMA fight. I didn't say I'd rather see them than Ronda or Shayna. I would have rather seen a WWE wrestling type match storyline as opposed to this, because these two are legitimate badass women that should have went out there and tooth and nailed it. And I know they can go. So someone adapted the let's make it still sports entertainment kind of thing. And I think they lost a lot of credibility with that. That's just my opinion.
Here's Dave Meltzer. The crowd wasn't into this, and in the background you could see them walking around. What killed this is that the crowd came to see pro wrestling and not something that looked real, which is what Baszler and Rousey wanted. It didn't look like pro wrestling, and even with the great video build-up, it didn't work. Plus, there would be a knockdown instead of a follow-up like that in an MMA fight. They would have stopped the fight. At another point, medical personnel jumped in during the middle of the match and kept it going, so it fell apart to fans who know MMA as well.
Yeah, it goes back
1.5 stars.
Yeah, okay. So I'm on the same page there. Not taking anything away from what they did, how hard they worked. But this is one of those things. I think the package and the buildup was better than the outcome, because I thought Sheena's promos during that, they kept going back to her, talking about the history of her and Ronda. I'm a Baszler fan to begin with, but when she was doing that, I'm like, oh man, this is either going to be really good or I hope it's really good, So, but they did their job, and like you said, they both came out of it straight and beat up a little bit. I just wish it would have been different,
I think one thing which I think I can say that I'm glad it's over, and I hope Ronda Rousey, I don't know if that's really it for her or not, if she gets back into UFC, that'd be cool. That would draw money. I would watch it.
Yeah.
My little brother's a huge UFC fan, so, and not as big wrestling. So this match was, when Dave Meltzer says that, it's absolutely true. An MMA fan was not into it.
Yeah.
A wrestling fan was not into it, unfortunately. But I think for me, I hope we can move on and Shayna Baszler can do something else.
Yeah.
I'm not sure she got much of a rub.
Yeah, I don't
think
so either.
I want to see what's next for her.
Yeah. And to that point, if that was Ronda's swan song or final goodbye to WWE, then that's the way she would have wanted to go out in an MMA style fight, so.
Yeah. But why wouldn't you just have an MMA style fight? Never mind.
There it
anyway.
There it is.
Okay, so we'll move on here to the next match. Intercontinental Championship. Gunther and Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
So I was excited about this beforehand. Of course, you automatically are going to think these guys are going to beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah.
Were you excited going into this?
I was.
Just for the match itself?
I'm a big fan of both men, both big men. Gunther has endeared himself, I think, to the WWE universe. He's really just coming into his own. I wasn't a fan of him talking so much, but it works for him and his style of everything. So I was looking for, especially after what Gunther, Drew, and Sheamus did together prior to this. So I was really looking forward to see what they were going to do.
We'll jump in here from CBS Sports article. Expectations were that Gunther and McIntyre would beat each other black and blue. They did just that. The European superstars walloped on each other with thudding clothesline and splintering chops. that echoed throughout Ford Field and Detroit. The first near fall favored McIntyre. The Scottish superstar rolled through a powerbomb, landed one of his own, and immediately followed with a future shock DDT. Gunther eventually struck with his signature powerbomb, but it was not enough to keep the challenger down. McIntyre laid into the Intercontinental Champion with flurries of shots and a huge Claymore kick that nearly scored him the win. The final sequence saw Gunther and McIntyre fighting on the top ropes. Gunther shoved McIntyre, and the challenger unluckily landed with the ropes between his legs. McIntyre was decapitated and ripe for the picking at that point in time. Gunther landed a top rope splash, followed through with a clothesline and powerbomb for the 3 count. An article says didn't quite live up to the greatness of the triple threat match, but it was a good match.
Yeah, I thought it's very hard to live up to that triple threat match, and right. So that even gives more legitimacy to those two guys, is because people were waiting. They knew it, So I wasn't disappointed by it. I wasn't shocked or disappointed by the outcome. I thought it was a good, strong match. I thought it was in the right place of the card, and Gunther is just making his way. And Drew's at that. I think Drew is at his point in his career with WWE where he's gonna be starting to run with guys to make them. I don't know if Drew's gonna get another full blown shot at it, although he's very worthy. But
there's always times, right?
They delivered. I thought it was really cool.
Miz got a title recently. You didn't picture that, did you?
Say that again?
The Miz got a title recently. You didn't picture that, did you?
Nope.
I think there could be a time and a moment for McIntyre. It might not be long term.
Yeah, I think no. I always think that Drew's going to be in the thick of things. I'm not sure if he's going to get another run. You know what I mean? I think his job now is to elevate the next group of guys coming in. But Drew's solid. Drew can go at any time. I'm a big fan of his work. I'm a big fan of him and Gunther. It would have been really hard to follow up that triple threat match with just the two of them. So I thought it was a great.
Take your Dave Meltzer. Let's get your Dave Meltzer prediction.
3-5.
Okay, it's close. So let's go ahead, and these are the only comments he really said on the match besides describing the match. Like in detail when he covers it. It was a great, hard-hitting match, but it wasn't like WrestleMania where the idea was, let's just chop the hell out of each other. Right. We did way more in the way of wrestling moves and clotheslines. 4 stars.
4 stars?
I'm not going to argue with it.
No, it's not. It's nitpicky if you argue with that one. I'm just stuck on the first one, so everything should be 4 stars. So.
Did you like the comment though? It wasn't like WrestleMania where the idea was just chop the hell out of each other.
Yeah.
That was the idea at WrestleMania. We're just going to chop the hell out of each other.
I think that's why I've never been
I'm just being mean now.
No, you should be. Because if you don't be mean and put all the humor on, I'm going to lose my mind.
Okay, so the Baszler and Rousey match was 7 minutes, 27 seconds. This match was 13 minutes and 42 seconds. Seemed appropriate.
Yeah, and the matches, my boy was saying as we were watching, he goes, "Dad, these are not your normal matches. They're longer than usual." So it was cool, and for him to
this match flowed well though.
Yeah,
timing seemed perfect.
Yeah,
there was no issues there at all
or anything like that. So I think they did a great job.
The World Heavyweight Championship that not too many people care about was next. Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Great video packages, of course, is always building up to it. Storyline that I just haven't gotten into. Maybe you have, Bill. I just haven't.
I don't know if I've gotten behind the storyline, but I appreciate here's my big word for this week, nuances. I appreciated the 7 in the scar. They kept telling, telling the story. So I appreciated that. I'm not sure if I was fully invested in it. I'm more invested. You're probably going to say, okay, hold on. I'm more invested in Finn Balor and his compatriots over there, his compadres, than the Seth Finn match.
Yeah. We talked about this maybe during the United States episodes for some reason. I can't remember. But that buckle bomb move is one that's seems like it's sidelined a few guys, in particular Seth Rollins sidelined a few guys. I'm not blaming him, but
Right.
but yeah. So when you brought that up, so that's back to 2016 when the Universal title was rolled out. Finn Balor was on a huge roll coming out of NXT, and he won that title, but obviously suffered a very severe shoulder injury in that match. So it was cool seeing that noted on there. And if you're a casual wrestling fan, you're like, oh, why does he have that? Then they made sure to mention it.
Yeah.
Which is good. But yeah, I thought that part was really neat going into the start of the match. I really did.
I thought the storytelling was good. Again, telling that 7-year thing. Hats off to the commentating team for really tying it all together, the physicality with the verbiage. I thought it was a good match. Those two could never have a bad match. They could both have 2 sprained ankles and 2 torn shoulders, and they'd have an outstanding match. So I thought the match itself was good. I think it may be close to the end of Finn and Seth, but not the end of Seth and the, Mr. Senior Money in the Bank kind of thing. So I think Finn's going to be a good catalyst to keep that story going, which is what I'm really interested in to see where that goes. But I thought this was a good match. Well done. Well placed in the card. Both guys delivered. I thought they did an outstanding job. And the finish of it, how it all broke down, really, really well done, I thought.
The mind games began before the bell rang. Rollins entered the arena wearing the same vest he wore 7 years ago at SummerSlam. Did you catch that, Bill?
Yes. And it goes back to that commentating team of actually spreading that message so people who didn't you know what I mean? So well done all the way around.
This is what WWE does well, of course. I mean, they do that well. So getting into this a little bit, Baylor repeatedly targeted Rollins' arm and shoulder with the submission holds and a measure of vengeance to the injury he suffered in 2016. Hence, his intentions were made very clear when he tossed Rollins into the ringside barricade with the buckle bomb. I thought that was neat. It was the same move that obviously Rollins legitimately injured Baylor. I hate saying it that way, but that's how it's worded in this. Rollins later returned the favor with a pair of buckle bombs inside the ring. The match's first significant near fall saw Rollins dodge this. I love Finn Balor's finish move. Bill, let's just stop for a second. How does he pull that off? How do you safely pull that off?
Every time he did it when we were together in the Performance Center, every time I'm like, gosh, damn, he's going to break his ankles or sprain a knee. Or I wasn't concerned about the guy taking it. I was always concerned about Balor. And I don't know how he keeps doing it. I'll take it every night. I mean, I'm not afraid of that move. I'm more fear for his health and his.
Because he's got to loosen up before he hits. He's got to loosen up before he hits them, lands on them. But that you think would make him vulnerable to hurt his ankle for sure.
But
beautiful move, man.
Yeah.
He does all the little things so well. These guys both are amazing, first of all. Yeah. But they both just get it, man.
And it goes back to you and I talked about this. Maybe it was last episode or the time, like 7 years ago, I said Finn looked like a kid. Now he's in there, he's a grown-ass man. And the same for Seth. Seth, for as much road time and touring the world as he had before he came into WWE, those guys are completely 2 different men now, and they look, this is going to sound like a dig, but it's not. They look the part, right? Everything they're doing fits. So big fans. I thought the match was really good. I like to see that everything continues. Like they'll all still be tied in together, but it's going somewhere else.
We'll wrap that part up here. So you just touched on it. You see Damian Priest coming down with the money in the briefcase. It kind of made you wonder, like, how this is going to play out.
Right.
SummerSlam's notorious for cash-ins, dude. You had the Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton one with Triple H.
Yeah.
You had the Alberto Del Rio one, which, as of this recording, was on this day in 2011, by the way. Check out On This Day in Pro Wrestling History on social media for all those things. I do that page. It's pretty neat. But yeah, today I featured that moment where the whole weird Kevin Nash storyline when Alberto Del Rio cashed in. So SummerSlam's pretty rich history of cash-ins, man. So it made me wonder what is going to happen here. Does it fall apart now or right not? I'm not going to cover the match too much more in detail, but it got a little confusing to me because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Right.
Does the cash-in happen now? Does he trade on him now? It's kind of awkward. He was trying to give it to him, but Finn Balor was kind of like, no, I want to do this on my own sort of thing. It sidetracked him and kind of led to him losing when Rhea Ripley and all them were out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought I really didn't exactly know how it was going to play out.
And that's the genius of it, because it could have gone one of three different ways. And the fact that, Damian Priest is sticking with, I tried to help you, and Finn's like, I didn't need your help. And there's Rollins cashing in on it, making good out of it, laughing at all of them fighting amongst each other. So it's going to be a round robin thing that keeps going. But I'm with you. I wasn't sure what they were going to do there, or who was going to turn on who, or who was going to get it. If he flipped it to Finn, how can Finn cash in? I'm thinking he can't use the cash in because it's not his. So I was really like, okay, cool, you got me. I want to see what happens going forward.
They traded finishers. There was a kick out. And then, of course, Damian Priest slid in the briefcase and this is a neat moment, as Finn Balor went to grab it. That's when the curb stomp happened onto the briefcase for the win.
And
good match. What do you think Uncle Dave rated it?
If judging by what he's doing now, I say that's a 4-1.
It was 4.5 stars.
There it is.
4.5 stars. So he's rated a couple of them above the Logan Paul and Ricochet match. Not a whole lot, but just they are that next quarter of a star rating, which sounds funny.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he didn't make too many comments on it, but yeah, it was a good match. It went actually for 18 minutes and 27 seconds. So at that point in time, it was the longest match of the evening, just surpassed Logan Paul.
As it should be, a world championship. It should have some meat to it.
I agree. Didn't feel long. Another good pacing match. I just think it got a little confusing there. I didn't know exactly what point they were trying to get off with the briefcase and all that weird Damian Priest stuff. But more to come on that, and the story will continue to go on with that. Like you said, it'll probably shift away from Finn Balor and Rollins now to Damian Priest, more or less. Do you think the whole group stays together as a whole, or do you think there's interchangeable pieces, or what do you think happens for the Judgment Day?
Well, I think they've proven that this other cat from NXT who's up there now has some kind of alliance with Finn. Excuse me, his name escapes me. But I would have much rather seen just Damian Priest come out the other night, not Mommy and Dom. I think that's what really muddied the waters as far as following the whole thing,
It got confusing.
It did get confusing, and there was too many.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. But I don't know if the Judgment Day splits up, because if that happens, then it seems like all the factions are splitting up at the same time. So I don't know.
True.
I'm not sure how that's going to work out.
Good match, good storytelling. We'll see what comes out of it. We know that it will continue on. Eventually, Damian Priest, to your point, seems like that will be the title he goes after.
Yeah.
That would make sense with the shows they're on, I guess. Then again, we know before from our United States history covering that championship that you just move to the different show when you win it.
When all else fails, move it.
The next match, Bill, was a women's WWE Women's Championship match. And this is one where you talked about earlier. You didn't get Rhea Ripley tonight. You didn't get Trish and Becky. But this match delivered for the cause for the night. It was a good match, so we'll go ahead and jump into it.
Yeah.
These ladies brought it. There was a lot of upmanship, as this article worded it, taking place between Belair. Excuse me, sorry, I kind of made that worse than it was. I just wanted to be more dramatic. Hard strikes were all executed in an effort to outdo one another, which we see that in most triple threat matches, right? It's like there's this carousel where you're in and out, and the timing has to be so. And we've talked about this a lot before. It's kind of like the Royal Rumble matches, other matches. The timing has to be done well, and you don't want to be sitting there thinking like, "Why is that person been down so long?"
Right.
So you've got to deliver the action in the ring. From your experience with triple threat matches, how challenging is that?
It's so hard to get lost in the action. It's so hard. Like in Mexico, you have a You have a high spot. There's them fingers in the air, folks, the quotes. You have a high spot and a finish with each guy. And so in like Mexican terms, every match is 45 minutes. So you have all these things and trying to get the timing down and all this. Well, these women have it on a grand scheme in front of millions of viewers. And to your point, people are here's the thing I feel that's terrible. People are waiting for them to be off. Oh, why are they? They're waiting. Well, this one was down too long. Instead, they got, like you said, the one-upmanship. But it's so hard to be where you're supposed to be, if that's the right way you want to say it. But to hit those spots, listen, somebody doesn't make a save, the match is over. And that's the thing.
Or very awkward.
And that's the thing. So it was, and in my opinion, it wasn't see-through. It wasn't like, oh, someone saved this from not happening. They were outstanding. They were outstanding all the way till the end. And I'll wait till we get towards the end. But I was with it all the way till the end.
I think the cool thing about these triple threat matches, when they're done right, you got to lay on the fact that you got to lay into the fact that there's matches inside of the match.
Yes.
So each of these individuals have storylines that relate to one another and maybe not necessarily the other person, etc. Those are all moments you got to lay into as you're storytelling these matches. Right. And I think, they did a good job with that. Really,
really good. And the athleticism, sick. The body language, the facials. Here's the thing that I absolutely think Charlotte is one of the best of all time at. When it gets physical, you see the look on her face change. Like, legitimately change, like, and here's where I'm going to cuss, and I'm going to cut, like, all right, bitch, if that's the way it's going to be, that's the way it's going to be. Like, you see a look come over Charlotte's face where there's no more wrestler, there's no more entertainer.
Yep.
This is okay. This is what it is. And 99%.
And she kicks it up a notch.
Yes. And when she does, everybody comes with her. I've yet to see her do it, or whatever it happens, to where she just dominates and makes everybody look silly. Everybody comes with her, and it raised the whole temperature in that ring, and it was outstanding.
She's one of the best ever, folks. I think we can't forget that. Every time we see her in a match like this, we're reminded of that easily.
Yeah.
I'll cover this real quick. The match was ripe with dynamic flurries featuring all three women. Flair chopped her foes back and forth, but Beer landed combination DDT neckbreaker on both of the opponents. The big highlight reel of the moment saw Flair soar through the sky, landing a moonsault on Bianca from the top rope to ringside. Bianca was eliminated from the equation after hitting the steel steps. And you just heard this huge loud thump.
Yes.
And her knee appeared to be hurt, and the medical staff started escorting her towards the back. It didn't ever show it. You just saw her fly over the ropes, and you heard a loud thump. A lot of people actually thought this was real, Bill.
Well, again, I'll go back to the commentary on this, because from the angle we had as a TV audience, we saw her go over and we heard the thud. And that's when the commentary covered, hey, it could have been her shoulder as well. It could have been a bunch of things. So I thought that would really help with the impact of those stairs, if that makes sense. The thing that bothered me, here's where I'm going to, and this is where somebody listening, one of our many fans and people who like what we're doing is going to go, now DeMott's being a total ass. Here's the thing that bothered me. 1 minute it was the left knee, 1 minute it was the right knee.
No.
And it's so not like me, because I don't watch a match to criticize it. I watch a match, I'm invested, but as a fan, I'm watching and go, wait a minute, that's not the same leg. And then it switched back again. And that's really, it didn't turn my opinion of the match. I thought it was outstanding. But that little thing let me know that we were moving on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's really shitty of me to point that out, but that's just where I'm at.
Yeah, it is, you jerk. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so I do want to point out something else. I watch a lot of AEW also, and I watch a lot of Impact when I can. Yeah. WWE's camera work is just a step. Okay, so the blood and guts match, you didn't watch it, but at one point, somebody approached, I don't know if it was Omega or who it was, or one of the Japanese superstars, came at Moxley with a flying knee, missed by at least 2 feet.
Yeah.
Using the wrong camera at the wrong time. I don't know how else to word it. And that's not a problem typically, WWE. The switches they have and the positioning they have with their cameramen, and maybe it's, and a lot of it, you could probably speak to this, a lot of it's probably the wrestlers knowing where those cameramen are also.
Right.
But man, they don't botch moments very often as far as giving away something.
Yeah, and that was the thing about when Bianca went over the back and that big thump. You had to buy into it because she hit. No matter what she hit those steps. And that was the great part about the commentary team putting it over and everything. But still, this match is going strong, and we're getting the Spirit of 76 moment from Bianca.
So the medical staff is escorting Belair towards the back while Asuka and Charlotte Flair are fighting tooth and nail. Flair had the victory within reach after trapping the champion in a figure 8 lock. Bianca defied the medical staff, fled back to the ring, climbed to the ropes, and crushed Flair with a beautiful 450 splash. I threw in beautiful. The finish came after Asuka blinded Flair with the poison mist, while Flair had Bianca trapped in the figure 8. Mm-hmm. Bianca dodged Asuka's kick and rolled her up for a 3 count. There were some really cool, impressive moments here. The moonsault was crazy, first of all. The match did have some weird, disjointed moments, but every triple threat match does. But these ladies did a really good job. Let's go to the story here. We talked about Asuka winning this, and you were little, I don't want to say surprised, but from where we started this year on this podcast, early moments where we were talking about fast lane and stuff like that, to now, were you surprised with the outcome?
Yeah, I was surprised. I would have liked, I guess I would have liked to have seen Asuka hold on to that a little bit more. One, I don't think Charlotte is at the point where I don't think Charlotte needs a title. She just enhances every match she's in. Still dominating in everything, but I don't think she necessarily needs one, and nor does she need to chase someone who has the title. But I feel like you knew, to your point of, at SummerSlam, you're going to see a cash in. And we didn't see it with Priest, but the women did such a great job of keeping us involved in the match. At no point ever was anybody looking for that match to be cashed in on until it happened. But and here's why I say I was a little disappointed. The medical staff came out, and they slowly were walking Bianca back. It's so hard to time that. To the performer's credit, it's so hard to try to make sure you can get back there in time and all the things that are necessary. Back to your point about triple threats, the timing needs to be impeccable. I would have much rather seen Bianca go down ringside, the medical staff work on her, instead of waiting. It gave it away, right? So now if I see her keep looking back, I'm like, this is it. So it took me away from all that. It didn't take me away from the match or the great work, but it took me to, they almost had me. Here, it's coming. So I thought it was really well done. I thought the finish was really well done. All 3 women did amazing. And again, they proved why they're in the spot they're in 99% of the time. So
20 minutes and 47 seconds.
Wow.
The longest, not the longest match of the night, obviously the main event was, but second longest match of the night. And it timed out well.
Yeah, really good.
You touched up on it. Io Sky obviously comes out and cashes in. I don't know if there's a whole lot to say about it. I guess I will say that. No, go ahead.
Well, I think Io Sky proved her. I don't want to use the word, and I don't mean it in the wrong way. Proved her worth.
We've talked about that, Bill.
And so it was. We've been talking about that. If she was going to cash in, if it was on a Monday night, it would have been. I'm sure it would have been great. If it was on a Friday night, I'm sure it would have been great. But this was the time for her to cash in, for it to make the biggest impact.
No, that beautiful moonsault. How did you feel about Damage Control, Dakota Kai back out there for the first time in months? Are you hyped up yet, Bill?
No,
I've been trying to sell you on Damage Control all year.
No, I'm glad it was a moment that the three of them had.
A year after they debuted.
Yes.
I'm sure it was a neat moment for them altogether.
I'm glad, but I don't want to see Io Sky go down the same route that Lucha Lizard is going with Christian Cage. I don't want to see that same kind of, bailing them out piece and, all that stuff. So I really hope this is the breakout of Io Sky and we've seen the end of Damage Control. But it was a great moment that she was there, and the three of them, where it started is kind of where, escalated to. So I thought it was cool.
We've been talking about it ending for 6 months and it hasn't. So I'm curious to see does she rival with Bianca Belair like normally would if you dropped it, or what comes after that for Damage Control? Can Bayley finally get back in the picture?
I'd love to see Io Asuka go at it.
Can Bayley get back in the picture here?
Right.
I mean, we'll see. A good match though, Bill. What do you think Dave Meltzer gave it?
I think he has to give that 4.5.
3.5 stars.
Okay, shut your mouth.
3.5 stars.
What did he give the Battle Royal?
Saying bad. He called it some sloppiness and good moves. He didn't make too many comments on it, but it was a 3.5 star rating.
What did he give the Battle Royal?
Oh gosh.
What was his?
Okay, let's see. I got it right here. You can cover it. Where is it?
You told me. You did. Yeah,
he did. 2 3/4. Still higher than John Cena's match at WrestleMania.
Okay. I moving on, as they say.
Moving on. But seriously, though, it was a good match. It's such a good problem to have that with the girls these days with women's wrestling. You could have had Rhea Ripley somewhere in here. That would have been awesome in the match. Trish and
Becky.
We did. But this match delivered though.
You didn't. To your point, you didn't. We didn't miss it. Like the women delivered, and the women always deliver. But we weren't sitting there going. So we kind of had a lackluster with the MMA one, but then these girls just took it to another level and raised the bar again. And to me, that just solidifies why they're in the spot main events and at the top of every card. The word sloppy in that match would really offend me as a performer, because I thought they worked their butts off, and I thought everything was very well executed. So yeah, 3.5 stars. Okay.
But in reality, that's a good rating, right?
Yeah. If you're going from 1 to 5, 3.5 is better than average.
If you're going to 7, then never mind. We won't go down that rabbit hole. The main event, Bill. Oh boy, how long do you think it took them to come out to the ring?
Long.
I watched SmackDown a few days ago. This is a SmackDown after.
Long.
And they came out so slow. They came into the ring so slow, and the music started to end. Then it went to commercial.
Yeah.
And when it came back, that crowd was so pissed.
Yeah.
You think that's part of why they're doing it?
Well, because, you don't always have to, that's the thing. Why do you always have to give people what they want? So I think that's the thing, regardless of what people think, they're selling out and they're giving what all the internet marks want and all this and that, they still control the pace of this thing. They control how this goes. So a reaction's a reaction. And if you want people pissed off, you want them pissed off with the bloodline. So I'm not offended by it, but to me, that's the funny part when someone goes, this match went 45 minutes. Well, if 8.5 of it's entrance, we'll talk about that at a different time, but nobody else could get, in my opinion, no one else in wrestling, all of wrestling, can get away with that other than Roman Reigns. No one.
It was, first of all, just before the match, I still didn't really know what the hell a tribal combat match was.
Yeah.
How much longer can they do this without getting more people from the tribe involved?
This was, this is like you, I follow a lot of things and I listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of people's opinions on this business. But I will say this. I listen to people's opinions that I respect. I'll listen to everybody, but the opinions of people I respect, I really take more to heart. And that was the thing. This is a tribal combat match. At the very least, show me Rikishi. At the very least, have Alpha and Sika in the back. Have somebody showing me why this is the tribal chief, why this is, whoever wins this is going to be tribal chief. Where's the rest of the tribe? When do we get the family involved? The cool part about me asking you that question is, and I think Paul Heyman made history by saying we're only in the third inning. So the fact that they've still got so
you talk about the press conference. You talk about the press conference.
Yeah, so much left in the game. I forget. Like, I'm willing to throw away. Okay, you want to nitpick? Yeah. What was the point in the tribal combat match and all these things you can rip? But did they deliver? That's my question to you. Did they deliver, or were you upset that it wasn't a tribal combat match?
So let's just jump off the bat with what some Meltzer said here. And a lot of people are talking about it. Reigns getting injured at 5-minute mark when Uso hit it with a tope in the hip.
Yeah.
Was this a hip or this a back injury? Did you catch it when it happened? Did it seem like he was moving slower to you, like people are saying?
I don't know if I'm sure it jarred him, and I would put it towards like that, the equivalent of like a hip pointer, kind of like right in the side above the hip. I saw where it happened and where it could have happened. Naturally unintentional. Those things happen. When somebody's diving, they're diving, and wherever they hit, they hit. But I could see where it happened. Yeah. But it's probably more of a, like I said, a hip pointer thing, a little hyperextension of something. But hopefully, it's not too serious.
We'll jump into it here. Reigns flaunted his size and experience edge in the first act of their epic encounter. Uso was the one who challenged Reigns to the tribal combat and used the no disqualification rule set as means to bridge the gap between him and his cousin. Eventually, Reigns took over and physically urged the crowd to be quiet as the fans in the Ford Center chanted for Uso. Reigns battered Uso with a kendo stick as a symbolic punishment for the way he's been acting. Underdog challenger endured a long beating before finally bodying back. Uso encountered Reigns' signature spear with a kendo stick shot and proceeded to whip him with the bamboo sword until it splintered. Uso followed it up with a stunning front flip dive over the ropes onto Reigns' ringside. We'll go ahead and pause here. Did see some blood between the hands of the kendo stick. You talked about this before. Those don't feel good, and I'm sure swinging a one that's broke does not feel good either in your hands.
The trick to that kendo stick is if you move those rope rings up or down, it tightens the stick or it loosens it. The looser it is when you hear that really good crack and it bends around the body. But once it splinters, even the guy with it doing the damage is getting hurt by it. It's just, I would say nothing good comes out of swinging it or getting hit by it. But I'm a fan. I'm a fan of it. I never mind getting hit by it. I thought you can't pull that, right? That's as real as it gets. And these guys
have been hit by worse.
Oh yeah, these guys have been physical. So
Reigns scored the match first near fall after catching Uso midair with a Superman punch. I thought that was cool. Uso swung the momentum in his favor with a super kick and an Uso splash. Is that what it's called? The Uso splash? It's Uso everything, right? Uso channeled months and years of pent-up frustration into a steel chair and expelled it to Reigns' spine. This is great descriptive writing. So let's stop right there. When you go back years ago when this all really started, he beat the living shit out of Jey Uso to get him to buy it, to kind of he broke him down, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
How the story went.
He beat him into submission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrestling's like a circle sometimes, isn't it?
And that's the beauty of this match is they didn't let's go back to match one. Granted, nowhere near the story of the bloodline, but there was something other than wrestling that should have went on. And this is what's happening in the main event. They're taking you on that journey. This storyline is the best thing going.
Yeah.
And it's because these guys know how to tell it.
Yep. Reigns powerbombed Uso into a pile of chairs. Sure were a lot of chairs. I thought he's actually going to slip on the chairs while he was carrying him in that powerbomb. I actually got worried. As a guy that's had 3 ACL tears, I was very concerned to seeing somebody walking with somebody. Then you're stepping on slippery steel chairs. Anyway. So yeah, that was a move there. So there's another spot here. Later on, Uso drove Reigns through a wooden table with a Samoan drop. You saw that coming for a while.
Yeah.
He beat him with Uso beat Reigns with a strap after that. The action spilled into the crowd. Reigns' history-making reign as Universal Champion is due in large part to the support from the Bloodline. SummerSlam was no different. Solo came out. He emerged from the crowd, laid out Uso with a Samoan spike, and drove him through a table. Reigns was in shock after inadvertently striking him with a spear, him being Solo with a spear. The break in focus gave Uso critical time to hit the champion with a spear for a deep 2 count. What do you think about Jay's mini spear?
I think it's great. I like it. He's stealing from the king, right? He's stealing with the king and going to beat him at his own game. And again, it goes back to this story being told so well.
Yep. The Bloodlines of Force are also struck Uso, but engaged in an argument with Reigns that allowed Uso to spear Reigns through the ringside barricade. Let's see here. The Bloodlines of Force are also struck Uso, but engaged in an argument with Reigns that allowed Uso to spear Reigns through the ringside barricade. Uso incapacitated Solo and hit Reigns with a chair of signature moves. Uso's victory was assured before Uso was assaulted by a masked assailant. The assailant revealed himself as Jay, Uso's twin brother, Jimmy. That was worded really weird. It was Jimmy Uso. Yeah. I'm not being nitpicky here, but the assailant revealed himself as Jay's twin brother, Jimmy. Yeah, I would have wrote it the other way, but I'm not a journalist. Reigns was shocked by these actions and he was kind of capitalized to win the match, but he did a really good job of selling it. What just happened.
Yeah.
Of course, there's like this part of him, like, I'm shocked that Jimmy just did this, but Reigns also was like sort of cocky, like, yeah, I knew he would be here. I knew he would be back, sort of a thing. This is the outcome of the match is a lot to process. Jey Uso looked tremendously strong in defeat, but nearly overcoming both Reigns and Solo. The idea of Jimmy also turning on his twin brother is particular, and it could obviously lead up to a soap opera full of matches between the two that could end at WrestleMania or whenever. There's a lot of ways to go with it. I'm so glad I'm done reading for right now. That paragraph there at the end really stumped me. It was wrote different. But anyway.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, there's a lot going on at the end of the match.
The end result in this whole thing for me, like, I'm a big fan of, okay, what did we get and where are we going? What we got is now Roman Reigns is back. Not that he wasn't on top, but he's back on top. Now he's convinced everyone that he's got Jimmy in line where he should have been in the first place. We've got all these things, and now we can see the 3 brothers, Solo, Jimmy, and Jay, in any capacity, and Roman back to pulling the strings with the wise man. This gets Roman out of a lot of physical matches coming up and still leading the bloodline. But like Paul said, they're just in the 3rd inning. There's no telling where this thing could end. And it's not getting boring. It's not getting stale. It's not getting old, in my opinion. And so maybe what we were looking for at the beginning of family members, we wanted, like selfishly, we wanted it that night. But maybe now we're going to start seeing because if you get the 3 brothers in, there's no way Rikishi's not getting involved. There's no way he's not getting involved when all 3 of his sons are going at each other like that. So I was super impressed with this. Again, the timing, the storytelling, everything they've done has been gold. And hats off to whoever's spearheading this whole damn thing.
I think Paul Heyman was great in this too.
Oh, his facials.
A lot of
mannerisms.
His facials and the begging for mercy and how he's able to find himself in the shot. Like on the steel steps, looking concerned or hand on it. I mean, Paul Heyman is so great, and he always knows where the camera is too.
It's just
he
been
doesn't
brilliant.
take away from the match.
Right. And that's it. He doesn't take away. He doesn't need to be seen. He just finds ways of being in there. And Heyman is the biggest part of this. When I love when he says, very concerned, yes, my tribal chief. Nothing changes. It's steady. This whole storyline steady. The characters or the wrestlers, however you want to word them, everybody's consistent and steady, and that's what's making this amazing.
I thought the match did have a lot of downtime that lasted quite a while. It's a little long. I'm not as harsh on it as some people are being. I don't think this is the best match out of the Bloodline things.
I agree.
I do think though that Jey Uso came out looking strong, which was the huge point of it. Reigns hurt or not, I don't know. I will say that the match went for, let's look here, 36 minutes and 3 seconds.
So another 30 minutes after the fact of where he could have been injured, he went another 30 minutes. So which would explain a little bit of downtime and some of the things going through the process. But it, like to your point, it's not a nitpicky thing. I thought it was just well done.
Yeah, it's kind of like there was a lot happens, a lot goes on, and I think the pacing in between it, a lot of it, I think, and I'm just saying it, I could be wrong. I think they slow it down in this particular storyline to let you process it, because there's so many things that happen in these matches with the interference for the Bloodline. So if we're just, sounds like I'm shitting on AEW. A lot happens fast.
Yep.
On interference sometimes.
And you can't.
And with this Bloodline storyline, they seem to kind of let it marinate.
Yeah.
So it's like they're going to give you time to process.
They let people digest what's happening. They're not just.
Yeah.
They're not building for one particular moment. They're building for the whole story. So it's.
Even like when Jimmy came in and did that.
Yeah.
It wasn't immediate. It did end after that, obviously, but it wasn't like 10 seconds later.
Yeah.
It played out some. And I think that's what they're going for. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not there, but I think that's why these matches go a little bit longer sometimes, because there is so much that happens. They try to let you soak that all in.
So let me ask you this. And I'm, again, you know me, I'm always jumping the gun. After this pay-per-view event, was there anything that you said, okay, I'm not interested in that? Or what was the thing that made you go, okay, I'm more invested in it? Start to finish, which ones grabbed you? Which ones, kind of left you going, okay, meh, or famous meh?
Meh. Well, this one obviously grabbed me. It always does. I don't care if it was the best Bloodline match or not. I still want to know what happens next. I hope that the Usos can deliver really good matches versus each other. I don't know if they've both ever been put in that position. I think Jay has been, as the story's progressed. I don't think Jimmy has been. I don't remember a standout Jimmy Solo moment, and I don't watch every single moment, so don't get me
right.
I'm not saying Solo the brother. I'm saying singular term.
Singular, yeah.
Jimmy. I don't know of a moment like that, but I do think if you can get, and this is where Rikishi involved, others involved, that will be more to the story. So that part's exciting. As far as the other matches, the Lesnar match with the okay, let's go back real quick. What did Meltzer rate this? What did Meltzer rate this last match? What do you think?
Oh, this match, I'm going to give it a 4.
He gave it 2 3/4. He did say the match was very slow. It was clear they were going to go long. He also, evidently, without a doubt, knows he was injured right at the 5-minute mark. He said, to sum it up, the crowd was very into all the interference and storyline twists and turns, but the match did go too long, and Reigns being hurt didn't help the match. Plus, there was so much interference for so long. Well, that's also been the trademark of his title reign, 2 3/4 stars. I didn't want to mention that.
Isn't that a conflict, or he's saying one thing and then saying another? Well, the crowd was into it the whole time, but it was too slow and there's too much interference. So which one is it? Is Roman Reigns there to serve himself or serve the WWE universe? And then how are you giving that battle royal a higher? I don't know. this is where I get frustrated.
Did he get the Battle Royal higher one? I didn't pay attention to that.
I thought you told me the Battle Royal was like a 3. Or is maybe that...
It was 2 3/4, the same rating as this.
The same rating.
Look, I think I feel strongly what I stood by before. They give you time. The crowd's into the interference, so they don't rush. They don't rush to the... This storyline is not rushed to anything, first of all. And they don't rush anything in the match either with the storyline.
I think that Uncle Vince and Uncle Paul should give Uncle Dave the book for 1 week and let's see him put together a pay-per-view and then let us rate Dave's work as he sees it. Because if you're telling me the crowd was into it, loved the interference, all the things, but it's a little slow, a lot of downtime, I wasn't into it, I had 2 3/4. People did not come there to see a battle royal. People did not buy a ticket to see Logan Paul and Ricochet. People bought tickets to see the Bloodline. Not a knock on anybody else, but you're putting asses in seats the way they've been doing business, and you're going to tell me in your illustrious career as a 30-year insider that you're going to give that a 2 3/4 after what they've done, and then knock the guy because he got hurt at the 5-minute mark instead of giving it 7 stars for going another 25 minutes and delivering on the end result. People don't remember when you got hurt. They remember the finish. They remember how they feel when you left them at the end, and what did you give them? And that's my problem with this stupid star rating.
What if it was in the Tokyo Dome?
They would have went berserk. That match wouldn't have been set too long. They still would have been going too fast if it was in the Tokyo Dome. That crowd wants to digest. And everything they did, they would have been on their... Whoa, I can hear it. I get goosebumps right now. So, good for you, Dave. 2 3/4. So, yeah, hey, gives Roman something to shoot for. Gives Heyman some homework to do. Gives the Usos, maybe they'll rise to the occasion, get a 3-star match out of this one day, but...
I'll answer your question, then I'll flip it to you to answer the question you just asked me. The first, I'd like the Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar coming to an end. I think Cody looked strong. I look forward to what he's got next. And the Intercontinental title picture didn't do much for me there. It was a good match, but I don't know what's next. I guess we'll see. I don't think anything progressed there.
Right.
No one came out looking bad or good. It was just a match on a pay-per-view. I wish Ronda Rousey the best. I hope Shayna Baszler gets used more. I thought the women's match was good. I'm curious to see which direction they go. And like I just said, the Bloodline, I'm curious to see which direction it goes. So that's my quick summary.
Yeah, I'm all in on the Bloodline. Take me there every week. Tell me where you're going to go, and I'll follow it. I agree with you. I'm really interested to see where these women go now, especially the 4 that we're talking about, and then Bayley, 5. Out of the Battle Royal, what I got from this and what I got from watching TV after, I'm very, very invested. I would be very invested to see a Mizanin LA Knight feud. I think Miz would elevate this kid to the upteenth measure. Big Gunther fan, to your point. I don't know what it did for anything except a good match. It was solid. I'm very interested. I'm all in on the Judgment Day thing, and as Seth will be involved in it, and I'm really interested to see where Cody Rhodes goes from here. So there was a lot of things I was invested in, and the only 2 things I was down on was Ricochet not being that guy. Being that guy I wanted him to be. I already know what he can do. I wanted to see what he was gonna do, and then I want to see. I'm hoping strong for Shayna Baszler, that she really gets going now and gets involved strong, not just in bits and pieces. But all in all, I thought it was a good event. It was the work was good. Everybody worked hard. But again, at the end of the day, the Bloodline story steals it all.
So let's talk about the event itself. This is out of the Wrestling Observer newsletter from David Meltzer. As far as SummerSlam buys, 1.5% blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to read that. He's comparing it to Nate Diaz and all that. He did say that WWE announced 59,194 fans at the Ford Center, which was not unexpected because they always do big for that show. He did say the only 47,000 people paid. So I guess there's like 5,000 employees that work there, according to Dave Meltzer. He knows the exact amount of who paid somehow. The gate was listed at $8.5 million, breaking the $8.1 million mark of last year's Clash at the Castle, making it the 10th highest gate in pro wrestling history. And the biggest ever that's not a WrestleMania. That was huge. Basically, Bill, this was like the most watched pay-per-view ever besides WrestleMania, like you just said.
Yeah.
Huge, successful night. Merchandise sales were up 60%. Blah, blah, blah. There's so much stuff that could go on here. And Triple H did a really good job of covering it. But another thing to note is the company also took in $7 million in sponsorship revenue just from that event alone. The big one being Slim Jim. Yeah. Man, Rocket Mortgage, Battle Royal. There was a lot in there, and it was a good C4.
Yeah. A
lot of money was made at the event. Let's dive into some of the other things. So, SummerSlam poll results. What percentage would you say was thumbs up? What would you say thumbs down, thumbs in the middle? I'll give you a hint. It's above 50% thumbs up.
Oh, I would say 65% thumbs up.
62.4.
Ooh, I would say 30% thumbs down, and the rest in the middle.
It was actually the other way. So you had about 30% in the middle, then only 10% thumbs down of the Wrestling Observer reader letter. So let's guess. Try to rank the top 4 matches here.
Top 4 matches would be
by the Wrestling Observer newsletter readers, people that emailed in.
Logan Paul was number 1. The women's match was number 2. The world title with Seth Rollins was number 3, and the Bloodline was number 4.
So best match poll: Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar took a pretty big runaway, followed by Seth Rollins and Finn Balor, Logan Paul and Ricochet, Gunther and Drew McIntyre. Those was top 4. Worst match: Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey took that home by a mile. Second worst match was Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. Third was Belair versus Flair versus Asuka. Oh gosh, I don't even...
That was the third worst match?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know how the Battle Royal didn't fall into that. No, that's not even a knock. It's just a Battle Royal.
I don't even like, I feel like we're so far off of what
I'm gonna make you mad here. His wrestler of the week was Will Ospreay for an event they did.
Oh, for the love of Pete.
I'm gonna shut up after that. SummerSlam, huge success though, Bill.
Huge success.
Continues to get bigger and bigger. How much, like, how could WWE keep going up and up? Like, how long can this last?
As long as you have these people performing at the rate they are and doing what they're doing, and now you're just getting LA Knight involved and you know, all these things that are coming up. The Miz is back involved. I think they can keep going like this for as long as they want. And the biggest thing is, because the schedule's not as hard, they can stay at this level. Does that make sense? Because they're not on the road 4 or 5 days a week, they can answer the bell every time, you know, where's wear and tear and things like that come down. Now, I know they're starting to tour a little bit more and some overseas stuff, so you'll see it. But I think there's enough players in the mix now that Chad Gable's going to start elevating himself. And, you know, there's so many people coming up. So I think they can go as long as they want. And as long as they stay the course of what's working and don't reinvent the wheel. You know what I mean?
Yep. I think what I wonder is, for the economy and pro wrestling,
right?
How much longer can it continue to grow like this? I guess there was a lot going on this night in the television world too. You had in pay-per-view world, you had a big boxing match.
Right.
You had UFC on, which their new deal with ESPN is huge.
Right.
You had AEW. There was a lot going on Saturday night.
And yeah, I think the FIFA, right? You had the soccer world, all that stuff going on.
You had cricket going on. I'm just kidding. I don't know if cricket.
You got crickets in that Battle Royal match is where I saw the crickets. But then look at the people who weren't on this pay-per-view. Then you said it before. No Ripley, no Rhea Ripley, no Dirty Dom, who's got so much heat it's crazy. There's a lot of people, no Becky, right? All these things that they still haven't used. So I to answer your question, I think the sky's the limit right now. I think the business is hotter than it's ever been in a long, long time.
I'm glad they didn't try to squeeze in any more matches either.
Yeah.
It was a long show, but imagine if they tried to squeeze in more. I guess every match wouldn't have been 18, 20 minutes, but
yeah.
I mean, I think they had the appropriate number of matches on there.
Yeah, otherwise we would have been talking about why they have 10 4-minute matches, you know.
And you got to have matches ready for next month too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to.
Yeah. But I think they're on the upswing for sure. I thought as a whole, the whole night was great. I thought it was great. You know, we can always talk about the little things that we talk about and the little things we pick up, but you'll never hear me say, well, it lulled and people stunk and you know, the crowd wasn't into it. I'm never going to rate a match because I don't think that's fair. I think people come out and work their butts off like that. And I'll go by because you and I have talked about it before. Unless someone's been in the ring and doing what they're doing, just sit back and enjoy it. Hopefully that's what we're giving people when we talk about these things, just a little insider stuff, you know, just opinion, right? Because wrestling is an opinion. But once you start criticizing it, I think that's where you lose people. And I think that's what people, out of the people who gave it the thumbs down, I wonder if they watched the whole pay-per-view. Maybe they should talk about people who watched the whole show as a whole. Maybe he should incorporate that instead of just saying, maybe some people did turn off after the MMA match. So that's what they judged it on, right? So, but if you're controlled, they controlled the whole night, and they kept you in the action and kept me, you know, wanting to see more. So I thought it was a great night.
We hope you enjoyed this bonus little episode here. We're going to come back. I don't know what we're going to talk about next, Bill. I got to figure that out. We only have a few days.
Oh man, and I promise you, in the next 2 days, something's going to come up. And we're going to go, oh yeah, we're going to go there because we haven't talked about Shinsuke Nakamura yet. We haven't talked about Chad Gable yet. We haven't talked about what broke my heart is my girl. I think she's great. Who just tore ACL. The tag team champions, Chelsea Green and
Sonya Deville.
And Sonya Deville. Now she's out of action. Right, the women's tag team curse continues. So we have a lot to talk about.
You heard it. Until then, though, we hope you enjoyed this one. Of course, you can check out the podcast at BillDeMott.com. It has links to all the other websites it's on. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere, Bill. We're everywhere. I hate the saying everywhere where podcasts are, but we are.
We're in with them.
And more. Yeah. This is pandemonium. It's crazy. Hey, and don't forget to check out my new On This Day in Pro Wrestling History on social media.
Yes, check it out.
I love sharing a minute clip every day of something that happened significant on this day, and it's kind of catching on. So I encourage you to check that out.
Good deal. I look forward to getting back to our next episode, get back to some questions from Vince McMahon's mustache and the rest of our followers. And yeah, this is good stuff, man.
We appreciate all of you listening. And yeah, you want to reach out to us, we're on social media. I'm Podcast Father. He's Bill DeMott. We have an email, BillDeMottPod@gmail.com. And until then, we hope you enjoyed this bonus episode. We'll be back in just a few days. So until then, keep being you and keep being great.